All right, Jordan, you ready?
Ready.
I see that clock ticking down.
Yep.
So 37 seconds for sure.
Yep.
All right. No, Susie. Random share. Random share giveaway winner. And that's it for tonight. We had that conversation earlier. I think Jason Anderson is going to do really good. In the twilight of his career, he's on this Kawasaki. I think he's going to do it. How you going? The show starts. Jordan, you what?
Stand by.
Okay.
You're live.
Let's get down to the starting line. I'll tell you about what you're going to see on tonight's show. The starting line is, of course, brought to you by Motion Pro. Jordan, what do we have up first? In the next time, try this segment, we'll be talking about a leaky petcock problem. I'm going to show you how to resolve that. In the Moto Showcase, we take a look at a 1986 Yamaha XT600 that was sent in to us by the legendary Al Roof. In the Here's the Problem segment, we take a look at 3 questions that you've sent in over the past week. Got a couple of good ones tonight. What's it worth? A 1980 RM125, mostly original, really nice bike. Looking forward to bringing you that. We got an expansion chamber. Great video sent in to us by Roy Vanderveer. Welcome back, Roy. We'll take a look at that. We got all that and a whole lot more coming up on tonight's episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. I am your host, Joe Abadi. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping me put the show together tonight. Thank you, the viewers at home, for tuning in. I hope you all had a happy holiday and a very early Happy New Year to you all. Jordan, let's see what we got first coming up on the show tonight. What do I usually tell people? Keep sharing the show. Whether you're watching on Facebook or you're on YouTube, please keep sharing this show. There will be a random share giveaway winner a little bit later on tonight. You will win a beautiful sticker sheet like this, compliments of Vintco. If you are watching on YouTube, comment Motion Pro. Keep sharing the show. Tell your friends about it. Put it on your page. Tell your mom. Tell your dad. Tell them to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can see the past 100 shows that we have recorded, including all of our interviews with legendary guests such as Garrett Wilson, Brad Lackey, and so many more. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You get a little alert just like this. Tells you when we're live. You won't miss a minute of Vintage Motocross Q&A. How are the pros watching the show? They're sitting back on their couch watching it on their big screen TV. They can then comment through their phone and enjoy it on the big screen. That's the way the pros are watching it. That's the way I recommend you would do it as well. Keep sending in your bikes, whether it's for the Moto Showcase or you have questions. Go over to the Facebook page, message me, inbox me. I'll get your stuff on the show. And maybe you want to see some new segments on the show too. Whatever you might like to see, get a hold of me. I'm interested in hearing from you. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Motion Pro and Vintco, Racer X, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, Northwest Mako CZ, and Bill's Pipes. Thanks for the shirt, Bill's Pipes. In the next time, try this segment tonight, which is brought to you by Vintco. I want to talk to you about a leaky petcock. Now, sometimes when your petcock leaks, gas continues to flow through the line and overflows your carburetor. But sometimes there's other problems where it actually leaks through the front. Well, I've said enough. Let's cut to the video, Jordan, and the viewers can see exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, let's take out these two screws and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll show you where the problem lies in here. Now, this little cap holds this piece into place. Underneath here you can see the rubber diaphragm. Sometimes people will replace that immediately and they put it all back together. The petcock no longer leaks through the valve over here and continuously fills up your carburetor. And if that was your problem, well then your problem will be solved. But sometimes the petcock actually leaks through the face. Why that happens is because of this. This is called a wave washer. And as you can see, it's got a little wave to it as it goes all the way around. This thing wears out. The purpose of this, obviously, when you put this all back together again, is to hold this valve tight onto that rubber gasket or diaphragm that's underneath there. And once you put it all back together with the screws, it keeps this thing nice and tight. After years of turning it on and off, these things can wear out. They can get a little bit thinner. They can even not have that wave in it much longer. They get a little on the flat side and they get weak. And that's what causes your petcock to leak right out of the face. You can see it sometimes where gas might drip right out of the front of the handle right here. So next time you have your petcock apart and you want to make sure it doesn't leak anymore, yes, you probably want to replace that little rubber gasket that's down in there. But when you do, take a look at this wave washer and make sure it's in good condition and it's putting pressure like a spring on this cap to keep this handle tight to that diaphragm.
Keep the ride going. In the Moto Showcase tonight, we take a look at a very interesting bike that was sent in to us by Al Roof. Jordan will go through the slides. Al sent me a rather extensive description of this, but it's really a fun little read, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So there it is, Al Roof's 1986. The XT600 through a winding chain of events, surely guided by Kismet, involving the need of an up-and-coming trail rider from the club I founded 30 years ago, the premature death of a former customer, and a request to help settle his estate. Yet another beloved model had been checked off my bucket list, the 1986 Yamaha XT600. I really wanted an XT600 when they were introduced in 1984 from the Yamaha shop my younger brother and I had grown up in. Once I spent a little time with the big 600, I felt compelled to set it up as an homage to the 1975 XT500 my younger brother Don rode quite effectively in SE and TRA Enduros, and it sparked my love for the big thumpers early on. To accomplish the Wild Turkey tribute theme, turn signals were removed, the original front fenders were replaced with Preston Petty MX Tony D front fenders. A UFO Universal Enduro fender was used on the was on the rear, and that was replaced also by a Preston Petty IT rear fender. OEM handlebars replaced facing two modern bars, and Preston Petty design rips, rounding out, right. In addition, I think I placed and I also had some binding the aftermarket, binding and was placed, they were placed properly as Daystar Z69 forklifts. Okay. He also did a couple of other things Alan explained to correctly reroute some cables that were a bit of a problem. And after that, he put some Continental TKC 80s on the bike. So that's the rubber that the bike is riding on. As you can see, my XT is far from a restoration, having ridden since 1968. I've owned over 144 motorcycles, practicing the catch and release method of collecting. Several years ago, my good friend and award-winning designer David Hill introduced me to the wabi-sabi, which is a traditional Japanese aesthetics, is a world view centered on the acceptance of transience and imperfection. Therefore, when setting up my bikes, I embrace the existing patina and list period correct mods, ensure mechanical stability, striving toward improved reliability and rideability. This approach leads motorcycles to like you see to this one right here, reminiscent of my youth and a blast to ride on our farm's cow trails and local fire roads. Al, That was quite a description. I want to thank you for sending that bike in to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Al, if you get me your mailing address, I will get you a coffee mug just like this, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A and Preston Petty products, which you have adorned your XT600 with. I'm sure Paul Stannard is very, very happy about that, and I really enjoyed reading that. Thank you, Al Roof. That segment is, of course, brought to you by Preston Petty Products. This week's special is the integrated bracket front mutter, just $52.95. We show it here in yellow. It does come in other colors as well. $52.95 from Preston Petty Products. And don't forget, they are looking for dealers. So if you have a retail outlet or some type of way that you do distribute new parts to people, get a hold of Paul Stannard at PrestonPettyProducts.com and see if you qualify to become a dealer. Thank you, Paul Stannard. Oh, but by the way, in a couple of weeks in the Moto Showcase, we're going to have a bike that is owned by Tom McPeak. Here's a picture of it right here in the picture. It is a real factory bike. It's an OW639 that Tom put together. And he's just about finishing up. He's doing something with the back wheel right now. But once he gets it done, we're going to have it on the show. It could be as early as next week, if not the following week. Thank you, Tom McPeak. And here's the problem segment tonight. We're taking a look at some of your questions from the past week or so. Jordan, what do we have up first? Brian Webley, I have a 1980 Suzuki JR50 that I'd like to convert to a pointless ignition, but I can't seem to locate anything. Any advice? Yeah, you can't locate anything, Brian, because there is no such thing presently as a pointless electronic ignition for the little JR50. But what I did learn along the way, after doing a little search on eBay and a few other places, that there's every part is available for the ignition system on this little Suzuki, and they're not very expensive either. Like $20 for a set of points and a coil. They show here the coil here and a points and condenser. The parts are available and they're not very expensive at all. You could probably replace everything that should be replaced for under $80. So you're not going to find anything as far as a pointless electronic ignition system, but you're going to find brand new parts that you need and they're not very expensive. Thanks for the question, Brian. Bill Antonazzi, Joe, I enjoy your show. I was wondering if you could help me solve the leaky petcock problem on my 1974 KX400 tank. This is what really prompted me to do the next time try this segment. But anyway, in answer to your question, Bill, no, I can't tell you where to get a rebuild kit for it, but I can tell you this. Vinco makes replacement petcocks for the 400, 250, and 125, 74, and 75 Kawasaki KX models. And it's under $70. So get over to Vinco, and you don't have to rebuild it. You could replace it with a beautiful reproduction unit available from Vinco. Problem solved. Glen Roberts, after replacing the brake shoes on my 1985 YZ125, this is a disc brake bike, by the way, I can't seem to get a positive feel from the brake. I've bled them. I've tried different fluids, etc. Any suggestions? I know exactly what your problem is, Glen Roberts. The hose on the front of that bike is made of rubber, and after 40 years, it starts to expand like a balloon. And when you put pressure on it from the master cylinder, trying to pump that fluid down to your brake caliper, it's expanding the hose. That's why you can't get a positive feel out of there. What you need to do is replace that hose with a steel braided line. I think Motion Pro sells them. If not, they are available on eBay. I saw them. They're not very expensive. But it's the only way to get a positive feel back on your bike like that as far as that front brake goes. Steel braided line. The rubber one is just starting to expand every time you go to squeeze it, especially with the new fluid and bleeding it and putting in the new shoes as well. That's where your problem lies.
Hey, I'm Brad Lackey, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Be right back.
Motion Pro in the What's It Worth segment this week, we take a look at a 1980 Suzuki RM125. This is, of course, the segment of the show where we encourage you to put in how much you think this bike recently sold for. I will tell you that it sold in Connecticut on November 12th, 2021. November 12th, 2021 in Connecticut, RM125. I'll read to you what the description says. Jordan will go through the slides. It says it's never been raced or ridden off-road. It did have a full carb service. It was cleaned and tuned. The fuel tank was flushed. The airbox was completely cleaned. There is a new air filter in the bike. The fuel lines were replaced as well. We had put in some non-ethanol fuel, mixed it at 32-1. The bike ran absolutely perfectly. There is new MTL gear lube in it. Everything's been lubed and adjusted. We did reseal the expansion chamber at the slip fit at the front. The silencer checked out. There were no issues with that. Everything else was replaced on the bike as far as, nothing was replaced on the bike. Only the chain. Only the chain was replaced. Everything else is original on the bike. Everything's been lubed. The bike runs perfectly, and it is exceptionally original, as you can see in this picture. So how much do you think this bike recently sold for? $7,000? $8,000? This bike sold for $8,900, and I think it was worth every cent, to be honest with you, because if you found one, a bike that was worthy of restoration, you'd be into it for $3,000 or $4,000 in parts by the time you were done, and close to 100 hours in your time, if you had the ability to make a restoration that nice, and few people do. There it is. It's only original once, $9,000, absolutely worthy of being in a museum. It's a perfect little bike, $9,000. That's how much it sold for. How close were you? Have you ever heard of? This segment is sponsored by Sunrise Vapor Blasting, and this is a segment of the show where I bring to you a bike that you have never heard of. Have you ever heard of a Yankee? Yeah, you probably have, but not everybody has. So let's go through the slides, Jordan, and we'll tell you more about the Yankee. The Yankee motorcycle is a bike which was produced in Schenectady by the Yankee Motor Company in the 1970s. This company was started by John Taylor, a longtime resident of that area. The motorcycle used an air-cooled two-stroke engine designed by Edward Guerrero that was produced by the OSA firm in Barcelona, Spain. The engine was a unique combination of two OSA cylinders that produced a twin-cylinder engine of 500cc capacity. The Yankees frame, designed with the help of Dick Mann, and the running gear were produced in the U.S., and the entire motorcycle was assembled in the Yankee plant on Campbell Avenue in Schenectady, New York. Yankee did offer some new and innovative ideas in motorcycling at the time. It was the first production motorcycle to have a rear disc brake and a 6-speed transmission. It had stainless steel handlebars and a frame made of chromoly tubing. The Ford's aluminum floor crowns were produced by the gun-making company of Smith and Wesson in Springfield, Massachusetts. This bike was ridden by Barry Higgins at one time early in his career, and delays in production were eventually the downfall of the Yankee. As lighter, more reliable motorcycles led the way in the American market. By the time the first Yankees drove off the assembly line in 1971, the differences were large enough to make the serious rider shy away from being about two cylinders and a two-stroke. I remember doing an interview with Barry Higgins where he talked about some of the first tests he did on the Yankee in Schenectady, New York. Some of them were on the street, and the bike would do well over 100 miles an hour. So, now you have heard of a Yankee. Sunrise Vapor Blasting. If it floats, flies, or rolls, you got to get your parts over to Mark Farriester in Modesto. He will send them back to you looking better than you. We've been sending things to Mark just about every week. I know a lot of the people who watch Vintage Motocross Q&A have been doing the same. So whether it's aluminum or anything delicate like that, if you got some brass fittings, it doesn't matter. When you give it to Mark Farriester, you're going to get a part back that is better than new, and it's not going to change the profile of the metal. Carburetors especially, a great way to get them clean, but it works on just about anything. I saw on Mark's page the other day where he actually had some antique airplane engine parts in that tank of his. So get a hold of Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Very fast turnaround time, always reasonably priced. Thank you, Mark Farriester, for all you first here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. In the expansion chamber tonight, we've got something coming in to us from our friend Roy Vanderveer. I'm going to pop in the expansion chamber VCR, and let's get a look at some of Roy's advice this week.
Hello, everybody in VMXQ&A land. My name is Roy, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to get this flywheel nut off the flywheel safely, effectively, inexpensively, and correctly. And the first thing I'm sure you've seen is what's known as a stroke engine piston stop. These are available affordably eBay for about $12. They did everything that uses a 14mm spark plug, ABS. And what it will allow you to do is lock the engine up so you can turn that nut off the end of the crank without the crankshaft spinning. If you have an established shop and you've got air tools or you've got an electric impact on, those are ways around this, but the one thing that this will do that those other tools do not is it allows you to torque things to spec, which is really nice because under torque you lose, the nut falls off, shears your flywheel key, your engine stops running. Over torqued, you can do damage to the threads on the end of the crankshaft, which nobody wants to do. So then, let's put our flywheel puller tool on there. This is a Yamaha YZ100. In the whole world of Yamaha, I think there are about 2 flywheel pullers. This one's for all of the external rotor flywheels, and this one is for this style internal flywheel. I believe this fits all the way back to just about the beginning. And so with that, we put a little torque on that, and that pops the flywheel off. So then we'll go in reverse and put things back together all the way on. Got our nut and washer. And this flywheel spec is 40 foot-pounds. And with that, you know you're set. You don't have to worry about that not coming loose or shearing a flywheel key, as that provides plenty of clamping pressure so that the flywheel gets a good grip on the taper on the end of the crankshaft. And next up, we're going to talk about how you set the ignition with a dial indicator. And that will be part 2. See you guys again soon.
So next week, we'll be back with the second half of the bike. Thanks, Roy. So this segment is, of course, sponsored by Full Circle Racing. Be sure to get a hold of Tom McAllister. He's still doing that great stuff. It's just $60 to have your hubs coated. For $10 more, he'll leave the backing plate as well. And that's usually done in a gloss black or satin finish. Get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing for all your spokes and rims for both vintage and modern on and off road. Full Circle Racing. We're going to take a commercial break. When we get back, we will have the random share giveaway winner. That's coming up next. Stick around.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
Well, we are back from commercial break, and as promised, we have tonight's random share giveaway winner, or should I say winners, because I'm feeling a little generous tonight. Robert Fragon. Robert Fragon, you are tonight's random share giveaway winner, and so is Kevin Temple. Kevin Temple and Robert Fragon, you have both won this beautiful sticker sheet, compliments of Vinco.com. Get a hold of me, get me your mailing address, and I'll get these out to you right away. Robert Fragon and Kevin Temple. You're both winners tonight on Vintage Motocross Q&A. What do we have next, Jordan? This week in motocross history is brought to you by Racer X Magazine, one of the finest publications available online and on your newsstand now. Racer X. Don't forget to check out our ad in the back of every issue. This week in motocross history. Well, it's a lot of weeks ago, 1961. The little professor is born. I want to wish David Bailey a happy birthday. The all-time great in American motocross and supercross was born on December 31st. So that's coming up just a couple of days. December 31st. David was born in San Diego in 1961. He went on to have, of course, an amazing career. He is an AMA Motorcycle Hall of Famer and was also a colorful television commentator, too. Of course, after David's accident, he was left in a wheelchair, but that didn't stop him. He went on to become an Ironman triathlon legend. David Bailey. Happy birthday to you, my friend. 1970, Cycle News ran this ad about Husqvarna winning with Dick Burleson aboard. Dick Burleson was the 1970 U.S. 500cc Grand National Champion, according to Husqvarna, based on him being the top American in the recently completed Trans AMA Series. Burleson, the future Enduro off-road 8-time AMA national champion. He was going to college at the time, and he was also working as a mechanic in a motorcycle shop in Toledo, Ohio, when he won this first honor. Of course, Dick Burleson went on to become a Motorcycle Hall of Fame member. Incredible. 1970, Dick Burleson, AMA, 8-time Enduro champion. And it was 1988, the Bomber returns. It actually happened in 1988. It was the last day of the year. The 89 Florida Winter Am Series opened on the last day of 1988. Gatorback Cycle Park, Gainesville, Florida. Team Yamaha's incoming rookie, Damon Bradshaw, went 1-1 that day in the 250 Pro class. Among the field behind him were a couple of future Hall of Fame veterans in the twilight of their careers, Bob Hanna, who was still on Suzuki at the time, and Mark Barnett. Hanna actually finished second that day, and Mark Barnett, after a 3-year hiatus, he quit in 1985, retired really, not quit. He retired in 1985, but came back 3 years later and finished in the top 3 on a tough racing Suzuki. Imagine that. Retired 3 years from motocross, came back and took a third. Behind Hanna and a rookie, Barnett. Pretty incredible story. I'm sorry, rookie was Damon Bradshaw. Barnett took a third that day. Getting a little ahead of myself tonight. Too much caffeine today. We've got some announcements coming up. Jordan, what do we have first? American Retrocross has a great race coming up on Sunday, January 30th at the Glen, Helen Vet Track. That is the ARX Series, and that is round 1, and they've got a class to just about everybody. They're encouraging participation of older 4-strokes, British bikes. They've got pre-75 classes. They've got a class for just about everybody down there. So go join the American Retrocross guys. That is on January 30th on the Glen Helen Vet Track. I've got a special video coming up on Sunday. It will be live. It will be here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'll be on Sunday afternoon at about 2 o'clock for just a few minutes, and I'll be telling you more about Can-Am's 50th anniversary. This is an international event. I'll tell you about the times and dates, who you can expect to be there, and this is not a one-day event. This is something you're going to have to plan on. Join me Sunday about 2 o'clock at Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'll be live to tell you more about it. I do want to wish everyone a happy new year, just a couple of days away. Hopefully 2022 finds you in great health, you and your family. And you know what else I wanted to mention? It's on a flyer behind me on a board, less than a month away. The Potomac Vintage Riders and the York Meet. That's coming up. I will be there. So get yourself together if you want something to do out in the East Coast in York, Pennsylvania. That Sunday, come visit me. I'll have a booth set up there at the York Swap Meet in York, Pennsylvania at the York Fairgrounds. But I still wish you all a very, very happy 2022. Thanks for watching the show all year long. Now let's get down to the finish line, which is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. This week's special is just 34mm carburetor, just $125 while they last. You got them in a couple different sizes there too. So get a hold of Helen Brown at Northwest Mako CZ. Get yourself a brandy new Mikuni carburetor for just $125. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts and hoodies are still available. Did you buy one in time for the holidays? If you have one, I get a picture of yourself, send it in to us, and we will feature it here on the show. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. Get a hold of me. I'll get you a proposal package you can advertise on our show. As you hear me say quite often, we reach 20,000 people a week, almost 90,000 people a month. You can never reach that many people without becoming a real pain in the tuchus on Facebook and YouTube. Get a hold of me. I'll get you a sponsorship proposal package. You'll get results just like everybody else is seeing here on the show. I think that about wraps it up. I hope you had a really good Christmas. And again, a Happy New Year to you and your family. This is Joe Abadi. You have been watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We will be back next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Don't forget, join me on Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll have a really great announcement about this Can-Am event that's coming up. I'm looking forward to bringing it to you. Have a good night. Thanks again for watching. Gino! Gino and Rocco! Okay, they come. Gino! Come on, boy.